Once again, the title of this video is brought to us by our ancient Roman emperor friend, Marcus Aurelius, who says, "We love ourselves the most, but we value the opinions of others over our own." And especially if you're familiar with this channel, you should not be surprised at all anymore that these concerns and issues that we think are quote-unquote modern have been with us for thousands of years, have been with the ancients, and they're sort of timeless problems that require timeless solutions. What is the timeless issue that lies behind this? I would say it's our need for consistency. When we act and behave in a certain way, and when we say certain things, but then we change our minds because our minds have evolved. We have found out something that is truer than what we thought was true before. And necessarily, we would have to say different things and act differently because we now believe differently. But whenever we act and speak differently, people call us inconsistent. They call us hypocrites. They tell us that we've changed, and they tell us that one day we say one thing and another day another, as if this is a bad thing. And so in order to please them, in order to appear consistent, in order to appear non-hypocritical, we stick to our old beliefs. We stick to that which has long been updated and which no longer serves us, because we think it's more important for others to approve of us. And they only approve of us or disapprove of us based on our actions. And not even based on our actions, but based on their consistency. A typical example that all of us are guilty of, that all of us have done, are doing, and perhaps will do again, is sticking to friendships, so-called friendships, that were established a long time ago, be it by convenience or just falsehood or some mutual benefit, whatever it may be, or for very good, true, and honest intentions that have been established in that way a long time ago. But a lot has happened since then. We have grown, the other person has grown, or we have grown and the other person hasn't grown, or the other person has grown and we haven't grown. Whatever it may be, things have changed. And we see that this friendship is no longer serving us, and it's not serving the other person. And with serving, I mean in the best way, not that there's some sort of profit to be had, but serving in the highest sense of two intellects adding to each other's intellects, becoming better, becoming broader, becoming more inclusive, becoming more understanding, with more insights into life, into themselves, and to each other. When that has stopped happening, we continue the friendship out of what we call loyalty. Because when others see us being friends with someone and then at some point not being friends anymore, they think, oh, what happened? Did this person do something to spoil that friendship? Because in our minds, friendships only end because one somehow deceives the other or does some kind of injustice. And that's why the relationship goes sour and the friendship ends. But most friendships the ones that end and the ones that should end but don't end, are actually in that state because growth has happened more in one person than the other. Or growth has happened in both, but in different directions. There are as many ways to truth as there are people. And it's not always the same way that is compatible in a friendship. One might decide so, whether that's the case or not. And one is totally free to do this. And of course, everything's about resources. We all have 24 hours in a day. We cannot have an infinite amount of anything. And that includes friendships. And if one friendship has come to the point where it's consuming all the same resources, but really, if we had met this person today with our current mind, that friendship would have never been established probably in the first place. It was a friendship born of the insights and beliefs and opinions that we and this other person had at the time that the friendship was established. And again, that might have been a long time ago, and a lot of things have changed. A lot of things should change. Change is good. Change is necessary. But we call it loyalty. And we stay in it. And when, not that anyone does this, but when someone else or we ourselves ask ourselves, what is it about this friendship that I cherish, that is, again, broadening, deepening me as a person? What am I in it for? What are all these resources? How do I justify this very finite amount of time on earth that I have and spending it in this way? What people will often say, most of the time, if not almost always, is, wow, we've been friends for such and such a long time. We've been friends for 20 years. This person is my longtime friend. This person is very loyal. If you've met someone today, said, hey, if someone told you, hey, you guys should be friends. Why? Because you're both very loyal. Okay. That would not be a reason. And of course, the other argument that you've been longtime friends doesn't even apply to a new friendship. So there's really sometimes no reason. But out of our sense for consistency, we say this must continue for the only reason that it has continued so far. And it's the same with our beliefs and opinions about the most important, grandest things in our life, in life period, about the universe, about what we know about it. We don't want to say we don't believe in this anymore, and something that we've been such a supporter of and talked about so much and told everyone about it and publicly attached ourselves to it. It's become too small. It's become confining. It's become wrong. It's become unbearable. But most people would rather stay in that unbearable state for the rest of their lives than say, hey, I was wrong. I have changed. I can't stand behind this anymore. I don't think like this anymore. I'll try to explain it to you, but call me a hypocrite if you like. Tell me that I've changed, and tell me that you don't recognize me anymore, all you want. But I need to do what I've discovered. I need to do what I know to be the truest thing to the best of my abilities. We will never know the truth, period. We will never be able to be objectively certain about anything. What we can know is that this new insight is truer than the former belief. And that's all we can do. And that's the best we can do. And no one's asking for us to do anything than the best that we can do. But it is important that we do the best and not the most consistent thing. So again, consistency in that way is pretty much the worst thing we can do for ourselves. But consistency in another way is the best thing we can do for ourselves. As long as we switch consistency, not to a consistency in word and deed, but to a consistency in effort. If we are always consistent in our effort, we will have the best life that we can have. We will stay truest to ourselves truly. True consistency is not in word and deed. True consistency should be in effort. My effort of trying to understand, my effort of examining myself, my effort of consistently renewing myself, my effort in exploring, my effort in learning. That's where my consistency should be. Otherwise, we end up where we've been before, where we keep saying that the sun revolves around the earth and not the earth around the sun. If we stay consistent to that belief, we will become wrong, and we will become ignorant, and we will become false, and we will become faulty. But if we are consistent in our effort, then we will say, yes, I used to believe that the sun revolves around the earth, but now I see that the sun does not revolve around the earth revolves around the sun. That's where our consistency should lie. And this again is a perfect example how philosophy seems to be full of contradictions, where we say consistency is both the worst thing as well as the best thing you can do for yourself. It sounds like a contradiction, it sounds like a paradox, but it's not. It only seems that way because society has been telling us that not only consistency is good, which it is, but that consistency is the highest form of consistency is a consistency in word and deed, in seeming the same and staying the same, rather than a consistency in effort. And this is what philosophy brings us. It brings us that timeless truth that was obscured by tradition, by culture often, by convention. This is just how it's done, so we're going to keep doing it. And they call truth by the same name, but it's the opposite of truth. They call consistency, but it's defined in the worst way possible. It's a confining consistency rather than a broadening consistency, which is what consistency really should be. And I believe this is why, as Marcus Aurelius aptly points out, that we love ourselves the most, but we value the opinions of others over our own. This is why. It is this false consistency that we're chasing. And again, as Socrates says, an unexamined life is a life not worth living. This is exactly the kind of insight that philosophy gives us if we're open to examination. And there is nothing better for examining ourselves and coming to these insights that are life-changing, literally, than to come through them by reading and then by writing. Because when we read, we hear these voices. We hear Marcus Aurelius, we hear Socrates, we hear all the people that we talk about on the channel so many times. But often our attention is not quite there, or we hear the good word, but we're exposed to society and our own outdated, misguided beliefs much more than we are exposed to the words of these people when we read them for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, even 2 hours a day. They cannot keep up with the stream that we're in of tradition, culture, convention, our own misguided, outdated beliefs. That's why when we take those ideas and we don't let go of them and we sit down and we write about them in our own words, in our own way, in our own journal, in our own piece of paper, that's when they become real. That's when they become our thoughts, our beliefs. And that's why I started the book club Like No Other, which itself is the newsletter. You can subscribe to the newsletter on the website, which is acceptingtheuniverse.com. Every week you will get, which is what my journal entry on our current book of the book club Like No Other, which is Seneca's Letters on Ethics, which are almost made for this exercise. Every letter is very short. Seneca has a way of bringing these timeless and universal ideas in a very simple language, very striking, very unavoidable. When he confronts you with something like this, you can't escape it, and you have to deal with it, and you always come to a better place, a bigger insight than you had before. So what we do is we read a letter each week, one letter, and then we write about it. And we write about it in a very impersonal way. We don't bring our daily lives into it. We don't bring our small little concerns into it. We try to retain that big perspective. We try to make it timeless. And again, my journal entry is in the newsletter. So this is the way we do it together. You read my journal entry every week. No one reads yours. That's private. And there's a video there to explain everything as well once you sign up for the newsletter. But that's all you get with the newsletter. You get my journal entry on Seneca's letters of that week. You get the newest video. You get a quote of the week. You get my reading recommendations, which I only pick one a month. It's very special. And they're all life-changing books, what I consider life-changing books. And I encourage you to sign up for it and to start this exploration, to start this examination of all your truths and beliefs and opinions, and to examine them to see if they still hold up. If they do, great. If they don't, also great, because you've rid yourself of a false belief. And there's no better way than doing it than reading and writing. And truly, let's get out of this confining consistency, and let's stop loving ourselves the most, but valuing the opinions of others over our own.